Good evening, everyone. How is your Sunday? Sorry, I am just updating something really quickly that I kind of forgot about. Um, I'm so sorry. I'll be right with you. So, this is something a little bit different for me. I don't usually play any type of horror games, not on stream. Um, I've played a lot of the top shelf type games, Resident Evil and that sort of thing. Uh, the early games. I have not played a Resident Evil game in, geez, couldn't even begin to tell you. This would go a lot more smoothly if I could type properly. Hopefully, my hopefully my voice um, holds out. So anyway, this is called Dagon. Um, it is, you know what? I'm just gonna read it. I'm just gonna read it. Dagon is a faithful interactive adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's work, focused on story and atmosphere. You will not find difficult choices, action sequences, or inventory management here, and movement is limited to progressing through locations along with the plot. Um, if you read and enjoyed um, Lovecraft's work, I think that you will also enjoy this. Um, I did play part of it. Um, I did play like one of the stories just to kind of check it out and see what it's like. Um, I like it. Um, if you have not read Lovecraft's work, just to give you some background, his work is a lot of eldritch type horror. Um, I feel like it's brilliantly written. It was definitely ahead of its time. Um, if you are not a person who enjoys reading, um, I strongly suggest watching Lovecraft Country. Um, is a show. I cannot remember what was that on? Hang on, I will find out. Okay, so if you have HBO Max, Hulu, Sling TV, Amazon Prime, YouTube TV, or Apple TV, you can watch Lovecraft Country on any of those. That is not a shout out, and they are not a sponsor. I did enjoy the show quite a bit. It was originally on HBO when I watched it. I thought it was really good. I did see some very questionable reactions to it. Basically, people calling it woke. It's amazing how people throw that word around. So my guess is most of them just don't know what it means. And if you are someone who doesn't know what it means, basically, it's a broad awareness of social inequalities. It includes being empathetic, compassionate, advocating for equal rights. I know that politicians like to throw that word around as if it's some kind of, I know our friend Elon Musk likes to say things like the woke hive virus, that kind of bullshit. That's not what it means. Being woke is not a bad thing, ladies and gentlemen. It just means you have a fucking soul and a heart, and you care about other people. That's all it means. That's all. Simple. Anyway, let's get on with it, shall we?
I am
All
writing
right.
this under an appreciable mental strain, since by tonight I shall be no more.
One quick thing. In between, oh man, I have some stuff going on here. I definitely need a new controller. Not related. I probably will not talk that often during this because he narrates for us. So to not interrupt, but there will be things that I will read aloud. So you can find, basically it's like pieces of trivia that talk about H.P. Lovecraft and his works and his background and things. So I will read those aloud because it does not narrate those. But otherwise, I probably won't talk that much during these parts of the game. Just a heads up. Alright, during the game you will encounter interactive elements. Some of them will allow you to continue your journey, others reveal interesting facts about the original short story, its historical background, and the author. Some of the trivia is hidden. In order to find these secrets, focus your eyes and look for the elder sign. And that's basically what the elder sign looks like. Alright, let's see if there's anything that we can... Lovecraft's letters. As to letters, my case is peculiar. I write such things exactly as easily and as rapidly as I would utter the same topics in conversation. Indeed, oh my god, I can't see. Epistolary expression is with me largely replacing conversation, as my condition of nervous frustration becomes more and more acute. I cannot bear to talk much now, and am becoming as silent as the spectator himself. My loquacity extends itself on paper. H.P. Lovecraft to Reinhard Kleiner, December 23, 1917. Throughout his life, Lovecraft penned around 100,000 letters to his friends and fans, out of which about 10% survive to this day, but his tendency to endless correspondence was a relatively late growth. In youth, I scarcely did any letter writing. Thanking anybody for a present was so much of an ordeal that I would rather have written a 250-line pastoral or a 20-page treatise on the rings of Saturn. Selected Letters, 1929 to 1931, H.P. Lovecraft. Lovecraft would often skip meals to afford postage. Collections of his correspondence have been published in various books, and selected letters can be found online. Some readers consider them his most important legacy. Okay. I am going to oh no. Yeah, that font was pressing my buttons. Not in a good way. I don't know which font to choose. Not that one. We're just gonna do this. Okay. Alright, let's see what else we got here. Alright, so that's our only one here.
Penniless, and at the end of my supply of the drug which alone makes life endurable, I can bear the torture no longer, and shall cast myself from this garret window into the squalid street below. Do not think from my slavery to morphine that I am a weakling or a degenerate. When you have read these hastily scrawled pages, you may guess, though never fully realize, why it is that I must have forgetfulness or death.
Morphine entered into use in the 19th century. It was routinely administered to treat severe pain during the American Civil War, 1861 to 1865, and World War I, 1914 and 1918. It was also sold without restrictions until 1914. Morphine became more popular solace, Jesus Christ, after the invention of the hypodermic syringe around 1854. Friedrich Serturner, who first isolated the substance, originally named it morphium, after Morpheus, the Greek god associated with dreams. That's interesting. Did not know that. At the time when Dagon was published, morphine abuse, known as soldier's disease, already posed a big problem in the United States. Yeah, no shit. Can't imagine it being sold without restriction. Holy fuck. Alright, that might be the only one.
was in one of the most open and least frequented parts of the broad Pacific that the packet of which I was supercargo fell a victim to the German sea raider.
Dagon was written around a month after the United States entered World War I. Lovecraft was actively interested in its course. He composed many poems in which he gave encouragement to soldiers and commented on the events unfolding in Europe. He tried to enlist in the army, which he mentions in one of the letters to Reinhard Kleiner. Some time ago, impressed by my entire uselessness in the world, I resolved to attempt enlistment, despite my almost invalid condition. I argued that if I chose a regiment soon to depart for France, my sheer nervous force, which is not inconsiderable, might sustain me till a bullet or a piece of shrapnel could more conclusively and effectively dispose of me. Letters to Reinhard Kleiner from H.P. Lovecraft. But even though he passed the physical exam, his mother prevented him from going to the war. She has threatened to go to any lengths, legal or otherwise, if I do not reveal all the ills which unfit me for the army. I Am Providence, The Life of Times in H.P. Lovecraft, by S.T. Joshi. Interesting. Did not know that. Let's see what else we got.
The Great War was then at its very beginning, and the ocean forces of the Hun had not completely sunk to their later degradation.
There's definitely some interesting tidbits of information that I did not know about Lovecraft. I feel like I'm missing something, though. The water? No?
So that our vessel was made a legitimate prize, whilst we of her crew were treated with all the fairness and consideration due us as naval prisoners.
Alright. Maybe something will turn up now. There we go. The Huns were Central Asian nomads who established dominion in Europe and invaded the Roman Empire in the 5th century AD. They were known as brutal, deadly warriors and masters of quick raids who also developed powerful composite bows. Oh, and lassos and early siege weapons. I knew about the bows and the siege weapons. I did not know about lassos. That's wild. During World War I, the British used the word Hun as a synonym for Germans in order to emphasize their brutality. However, the term originated when the German Emperor Wilhelm II gave a speech to his troops on 27 July 1900 before they embarked to China. Should you encounter the enemy, he will be defeated. No quarter will be given. Prisoners will not be taken. Whoever falls into your hands is forfeited. Just as 1,000 years ago the Huns under their king Attila made a name for themselves, one that even today makes them seem mighty in history and in legend, may the name German be affirmed by you in such a way in China that no Chinese will ever again dare to look cross-eyed at a German. At a cross-eyed. Jesus. I swear I can read. I swear. The refusal to take prisoners was a clear breach of the laws and customs of war adopted during the First Hague Convention of 1899. There's all kinds of history stuff in here. I like it. Alright. Nothing else? Not the only tidbit? Alright.
So liberal, indeed, was the discipline of our captors, that 5 days after we were taken, I managed to escape alone, in a small boat, with water and provisions for a good length of time.
Oh, wow. I guess they figured you're out on the water. Where are you gonna go? I don't want to miss anything, so I'm just taking a look around.
When I finally found myself adrift and free, I had but little idea of my surroundings.
Idea.
Never a competent navigator, I could only guess vaguely by the sun and stars that I was somewhat south of the equator.
Interesting.
Of the longitude, I knew nothing, and no island or coastline was in sight.
I'll say. You look pretty far, so I'm assuming that maybe there's something. Well, I guess not.
The weather kept fair, and for uncounted days I drifted aimlessly beneath the scorching sun, waiting either for some passing ship or to be cast on the shores of some habitable land.
Alright. Wow, that is bright. Holy hell. Oh, there we go. Dagon was written in July 1917 and first published in 1919 in The Vagrant, an amateur magazine focused on the supernatural. The story is the first of his stories that introduced an element from the Cthulhu mythos, Dagon itself. A pagan cult worshipping Dagon later appears in the shadow over Innsmouth. Innsmouth? It's probably Innsmouth, right? One of Lovecraft's most popular works. It's also a really good one. 1917 is also the year when he wrote The Tomb, a story about Jervis Dudley, a daydreamer who discovers a mysterious mausoleum in the woods by his house and becomes obsessed with it. These two works marked Lovecraft's return to short story writing after he burned most of his attempts at the genre 9 years prior and decided to concentrate on poetry. Lovecraft stated that it was his friend, William Paul Cook, a literary publisher and critic, who convinced him to start writing weird fiction again. And it is some weird-ass fiction.
But neither ship nor land appeared, and I began to despair in my solitude upon the heaving vastness of unbroken blue. The change happened whilst I slept. Its details I shall never know, for my slumber, though troubled and dream-infested, was continuous.
Wow. So, things just got weird as fuck. get over here? Okay.
When at last I awoke, it was to discover myself half sucked into a slimy expanse of hellish black mire, which extended about me in monotonous undulations as far as I could see, and in which my boat lay grounded some distance away. Though one might well imagine that my first sensation would be of wonder at so prodigious and unexpected a transformation of scenery, I was in reality more horrified than astonished.
Me too. I am also horrified. Oh God, can you imagine how this place must smell? Oh, Jesus.
For there was
Why
in the
did I do
air
that to myself?
and in the rotting soil a sinister quality which chilled me to the very core.
I
The region
can
was
understand
putrid
that.
with the carcasses of decaying fish and of other less describable things which I saw protruding from the nasty mud of the unending plain.
Ugh. Alright, do we have a... Oh, maybe I have to wait until he's
Perhaps
done.
I should not hope to convey in mere words the unutterable hideousness that can dwell in absolute silence and barren immensity.
Oh gosh, and it's like insanely quiet too. Oh.
There was nothing within hearing and nothing in sight save a vast reach of black slime. Yet the very completeness of the stillness and the homogeneity of the landscape oppressed me with a nauseating fear.
Oh, yeah, I can
The
see
sun
that.
was blazing down from a sky which seemed to me almost black in its cloudless cruelty, as though reflecting the inky marsh beneath my feet.
Creepy. Oh, what the fuck are you? Dagon seems to be inspired by Fishhead, a short novel by Irvin S. Cobb about unnatural affinities between a hybrid idiot and the strange fish of an isolated lake. Supernatural horror in literature, H.P. Lovecraft. And Lovecraft's dream about a strange island emerging from the ocean and him crawling in the ooze that covered its surface. I dream that whole hideous crawl and can yet feel the ooze sucking me down. In Defense of Dagon, H.P. Lovecraft. Lovecraft's interest in the topic stemmed from his aversion to fish and sea smells. In his own words, I have hated fish and feared the sea and everything connected with it since I was 2 years old, but I cannot recall what earlier experience gave me such a profound and lasting aversion to the sea and seafood. The Dweller in Darkness, Lovecraft, 1927, Donald Wandrei. Oh, that's just nasty. Let's see what else we got. Anything? Yeah, the squishy
As I
sounds.
crawled into the
Ew.
stranded boat, I realized that only one theory could explain my position. Through some unprecedented volcanic upheaval, a portion of the ocean floor must have been thrown to the surface, exposing regions for which innumerable millions of years had lain hidden under unfathomable watery depths.
Yeah, because that's what the human mind does, right? During trauma, that tries to make sense of something. Even like completely unexplainable things, it tries to like find logic. I don't think there's any logic to be found here.
So great was the extent of the new land which had risen beneath me that I could not detect the faintest noise of the surging ocean, straining my ears as I might. Nor were there any seafowl to prey upon the dead things.
Ugh. See if we can find any. No. Oh. It's huge. Volcanic eruptions sometimes result in the creation of islands. Most of them are transient and erode after some time, but some prove permanent. The floating pumice, porous rock created when superheated, pressurized rock is ejected from a volcano, can move across long distances and transport barnacles and macroalgae that cling to it. In 2001, rafts of pumice, is it pumice or pumice? Created during the eruption of a volcano near Tonga, Polynesia, eventually reached Australia. Holy fuck. That's wild. Oh, so nasty.
For several hours I sat thinking or brooding in the boat, which lay upon its side and afforded a slight shade as the sun moved across the heavens.
I don't know if I would call that the heavens.
As the day progressed, the ground lost some of its stickiness and seemed likely to dry sufficiently for traveling purposes in a short time.
Okay.
That night I slept but little, and the next day I made for myself a pack containing food and water, preparatory to an overland journey in search of the vanished sea and possible rescue.
Mm-hmm. I don't want to miss any of the trivia. Oh god, that's so nasty.
On the third morning, I found the soil dry enough to walk upon with ease. The odor of the fish was maddening, but I was too much concerned with graver things to mind so slight an evil, and set out boldly for an unknown goal.
I don't know if I consider that so slight and evil. Like, ugh. What the hell is this?
All day I forged steadily westward, guided by a faraway hummock which rose higher than any other elevation on the rolling desert.
Under. Oh, god. Gross. No, nothing. Um. Oh, that's so nasty. Oh, jeez. Some wild shit went down. I thought there would be at least one piece of trivia somewhere, but unless I'm overlooking it.
That night I encamped, and on the following day still travelled toward the hummock, though that object seemed scarcely nearer than when I had first espied it.
Oh. The creator of the Cthulhu mythos and the fictional underwater city of Riley, or Rylea, was convinced that life could not exist at the bottom of the ocean because the water pressure would make it uninhabitable. Today we know that the darkest depths of the ocean are home to many peculiar organisms. The deepest dwelling fish we have discovered so far, the Mariana snailfish, can live about 8,000 meters, more than 26,000 feet, below the ocean's surface, in never-ending darkness and at hellishly crushing pressures, hundreds of times stronger than those found at sea level. Upon glancing at the modern photos of deep-sea creatures, such as the anglerfish, the fangtooth, or the viperfish, and their truly Lovecraftian characteristics, it's hard not to find some irony in this. Agreed.
By the fourth evening, I attained the base of the mound, which turned out to be much higher than it had appeared from a distance. An intervening valley setting it out in sharper relief from the general surface. Too weary to ascend, I slept in the shadow of the hill. I know not why my dreams were so wild that night.
I can guess.
But ere the waning and fantastically gibbous moon had risen far above the eastern plain, I was awake in a cold perspiration, determined to sleep no more. Such visions as I had experienced were too much for me to endure again. And in the glow of the moon I saw how unwise I had been to travel by day.
I do
Without
really
the glare of
love.
the parching sun, my journey would have cost me less energy. Indeed, I now felt quite able to perform the ascent which had deterred me at sunset. Picking up my pack, I started for the crest of the eminence.
I feel like there should be something around here. I do love the artwork. I think it's, is it, dark and terrifying? Well, yeah. But I do think it's beautiful also. Oh. Contrary to popular opinion, Lovecraft was not an ever-frowning, eccentric, grumpy loner. He considered himself to be a person who appreciated humor. Moreover, he would often meet with friends in his apartment or at various cafes in Brooklyn and in Manhattan. At times, his social life was so intensive his work would suffer for months. There was a point when he finally decided he needed to put an end to daily meetings and loitering in New York cafeterias and resorted to hiding at home and reading with the main room light turned off, pretending he wasn't there whenever a friend knocked on his door. He also had another method of deterring his guests, which involved greeting them in a bathrobe, with an unmade bed visible in the background and piles of paper scattered across the floor. Alright, that might sound like something that I would do.
I have said
Does
that the
have some
unbroken monotony of the rolling plain was a source of vague horror to me.
vague horror? I would say it's not vague.
But I think my horror was greater when I gained the summit of the mound and looked down the other side into an immeasurable pit or canyon, whose black recesses the moon had not yet soared high enough to illumine. I felt myself on the edge of the world.
I could see that.
peering over the rim into a fathomless chaos of eternal night.
Hey! How goes? Seriously, this game is beautiful. Oh,
Through
okay.
my terror ran curious reminiscences of Paradise Lost, and of Satan's hideous climb through the unfashioned realms of darkness.
If you've read Paradise Lost, you will truly appreciate what he just said.
As the moon climbed higher in the sky, I began to see that the slopes of the valley were not quite so perpendicular as I had imagined.
He keeps making references to the moon.
Ledges and outcroppings of rock afforded fairly easy footholds for a descent. Whilst after a drop of only a few hundred feet, the declivity became very gradual.
Oh yeah, it's, you know, just a few hundred feet, no big deal. Still nothing? No? Alright, down we go.
Urged on by an impulse which I cannot definitely analyze, I scrambled with difficulty down the rocks and stood on the gentler slope beneath.
Well, this isn't terrifying at all. What's that?
Gazing into the Stygian deeps, where no light had yet penetrated. All at once, my attention was captured by a vast and singular object on the opposite slope, which rose steeply about 100 yards ahead of me. An object that gleamed whitely in the newly bestowed rays of the ascending moon.
I wonder if there's a... No? I feel like there should be something here, but maybe not.
That it was merely a gigantic piece of stone, I soon assured myself. But I was conscious of a distinct impression that its contour and position were not altogether the work of nature.
I mean, look at it. How would you think that that is?
A closer
Okay.
scrutiny filled me with sensations I cannot express.
Alright, before we look at that, I feel like there's got to be a piece of something. Oh, okay, maybe
For
not.
despite its enormous magnitude and its position in an abyss which had yawned at the bottom of the sea since the world was young, I perceived beyond a doubt that the strange object was a well-shaped monolith, whose massive bulk had known the workmanship and perhaps the worship of living and thinking creatures. Dazed and frightened, yet not without a certain thrill of the scientist's or archaeologist's delight, I examined my surroundings more closely.
Gee, already? Ew, the squishy sounds when you walk.
Now
Oh.
near the zenith, shone weirdly and vividly above the towering steeps that hemmed in the chasm, and revealed the fact that a far-flung body of water flowed at the bottom, winding out of sight in both directions, and almost lapping my feet as I stood on the slope. Across the chasm, the wavelets washed the base of the Cyclopean monolith, on whose surface I could now trace both inscriptions and crude sculptures.
Interesting. Glad we didn't step in that. No, what's in that water?
The writing was in a system of hieroglyphics unknown to me, and unlike anything I'd ever seen in books. Consisting for the most part of conventionalized aquatic symbols such as fishes, eels, octopi, crustaceans, mollusks, whales, and the like.
Or mollusks. I have to look that up. I want to know what they are.
Several characters obviously represented marine things which are unknown to the modern world, but whose decomposing forms I had observed on the ocean-risen plain.
Oh yeah, there's like those. The squid-like things. They definitely seen better days.
It was the pictorial carving, however, that did most to hold me spellbound.
Really. Dagon contains many themes and storytelling methods that Lovecraft developed in his later works, such as telling the story through carvings, At the Mountains of Madness, The Nameless City, journals and characters' notes, The Shadow Out of Time, The Haunter of the Dark, islands emerging from the ocean, The Call of Cthulhu, or fictional beings and deities based on real events and mythologies, Migo in The Whisperer in the Dark. It's also considered the origin of the popular Cthulhu mythos. Some of Lovecraft's other stories also conclude in a manner similar to Dagon, but let's skip the details in order not to spoil the ending. Because we don't want to spoil the ending, right? I like how the moon kind of shines on it and makes the background blue.
Plainly visible across the intervening water, on account of their enormous size, were an array of bas-reliefs whose subjects would have excited the envy of a Doré. I think that these things were supposed to depict men, at least a certain sort of men.
Like
The
mermen?
creatures were shown disporting like fishes in the waters of some marine grotto, or paying homage at some monolithic shrine which appeared to be under the waves as well. Of their faces and forms I dare not speak in detail, for the mere remembrance makes me grow faint.
Really?
Grotesque beyond the imagination of a Poe or a Bulwer.
Oh, jeez.
They were damnably human in general outline, despite webbed hands and feet, shockingly wide and flabby lips, glassy, bulging eyes, and other features less pleasant to recall.
I mean, it just sounds like a average horror movie to me.
Curiously enough, they seem to have been chiseled badly out of proportion with their scenic background.
Oh.
For one of the creatures was shown in the act of killing a whale, represented as but little larger than himself.
Oh my gosh.
I remarked, as I say, their grotesqueness and strange size, but in a moment decided that they were merely the imaginary gods of some primitive fishing or seafaring tribe. some tribe whose last descendant had perished eras before the first ancestor of the Piltdown or Neanderthal man was born.
Maybe. Okay.
Awestruck at this unexpected glimpse into a past beyond the conception of the most daring anthropologist, I stood musing whilst the moon cast queer reflections on the silent channel before me. Then, suddenly, I saw it.
What? What did you see?
With only a slight churning to mark its rise to the surface, the thing slid into view above the dark waters.
What? Is there a... Oh, jeez.
It darted like a
Gave me chills.
stupendous monster of nightmares to the monolith.
Oh my
Backward
gosh.
it flung its gigantic scaly arms, the while it bowed its hideous head and gave vent to certain measured sounds. I think I went mad then.
You think? Because I certainly jumped.
Of my frantic ascent of the slope and cliff, and of my delirious journey back to the stranded boat, I remember little.
I hope I didn't miss any trivia. That would suck.
I believe I sang a great deal and laughed oddly when I was unable to sing.
Oh my god, look at this guy. Okay, I'm going.
I have indistinct recollections of a great storm sometime after I reached the boat. At any rate, I know that I heard pearls of thunder and other tones which nature utters only in her wildest moods.
Oh, nature, you know that she's a wild girl. Oh my god, I saw... My god, that's so creepy.
When I came out of the shadows, I was in a San Francisco hospital.
Wait, what?
Brought thither by the captain of the American ship which had picked up my boat in mid-ocean.
Right away! How's it going?
In my delirium, I had said much, but found that my words had been given scant attention. Of any land upheaval in the Pacific, my rescuers knew nothing.
Oh my gosh.
Nor did I deem it necessary to insist upon a thing which I knew they could not believe.
Lovecraft was a prominent figure in the world of amateur journalism. In 1915, he started publishing his own journal called The Conservative, which included political and social commentary, poetry, short stories, and literary criticism written by him and other authors. Howard was a skilled wordsmith, but he also took criticisms to heart, which resulted in his decision to step away from writing poetry and concentrate on weird fiction again, for the first time since his teenage years. Dagon, published in 1919, is one of the short stories written during that period. In this example, excerpt from The Conservative, the master of horror fiction, explains his attitude towards warfare and the idea of world peace. Why any sane human being can believe in the possibility of universal peace is more than the conservative can fathom. Should the entire civilized world agree simultaneously to disarm, one or more nations would undoubtedly retain secret armaments and at the proper time take advantage of their more altruistic and less astute contemporaries in a wild career of conquest against unarmed victims. No country is, or ever can be above warfare until the basic impulses of the human animal shall have miraculously changed. Wow, that hits hard. Holy crap. Honestly, I can't say he's wrong. Here we go. In 1921, Lovecraft released a series of 3 essays, The Defense Reopens, The Defense Remains Open, and Final Words, later published as a collection titled In Defense of Dagon, in which he rebuked a series of criticisms directed at his works. Some notable quotes: "I paint what I dream, and will let the public settle the rest amongst themselves." Mr. Monday asks the raison d'etre of Dagon. I will give it, purely and simply to reproduce a mood. Its object is the simplest in all art, portrayal. The physical horrors of war, no matter how extreme and unprecedented, hardly have a bearing on the entirely different realm of supernatural terror. Ghosts are still ghosts. The mind can get more thrills from unrealities than from realities. In the essays, Lovecraft touches upon the topics of atheism, materialism, the quest for truth, and the love of science. Yeah, no, he's not wrong. He was not wrong. Almost missed one. Lovecraft considered himself an atheist and absolute materialist, which he attributed partly to his early childhood interest in astronomy and science in general. In his own words, I am indeed an absolute materialist so far as actual belief goes, with not a shred of credence in any form of supernaturalism, religion, spiritualism, transcendentalism, blah blah, metempsychosis, or immortality. All I say is that I think it is damned unlikely that anything like a central cosmic will, a spirit world, or an eternal survival of personality exist. They are the most preposterous and unjustified of all the guesses which can be made about the universe, and I'm not enough of a hair-splitter to pretend that I don't regard them as errant and negligible moonshine. In theory, I am an agnostic, but pending the appearance of radical evidence, I must be classed, practically and provisionally, as an atheist. Sources: Against Religion, The Atheist Writings of H.P. Lovecraft, by H.P. Lovecraft. Mythos, The Myths and Tales of H.P. Lovecraft and Robert E. Howard, by H.P. Lovecraft and Robert E. Howard. Hopefully I don't miss any. I find the historical value to be very interesting.
Once I sought out a celebrated ethnologist and amused him with peculiar questions regarding the ancient Philistine legend of Dagon, the fish god.
So sorry. All right. Dagon, was the main deity of the Philistines, worshipped throughout the Middle East as the ancient god of fertility and crops. In Hebrew, the word Dagon was a common noun for grain. The rulers of Akkad, Mesopotamia, chose him as the patron saint of their war conquests. He also appeared as the judge of the dead in an Assyrian poem and an underworld prison warder in one of the Babylonian texts. He's often mistakenly taken for a fish god due to the wrong interpretation of his name, as in Hebrew the word dag means fish. In H.P. Lovecraft's works, Dagon is an underwater deity ruling over the deep ones, a humanoid race with fish traits that resides in the oceans. He is worshipped by a secret cult called the Esoteric Order of Dagon. Anybody read that? Alright, let's see what else we got. Probably it for this location, but the last one had 3, so
But soon perceiving that he was hopelessly conventional, I did not press my inquiries.
that makes sense. Lovecraft's attempts to find a job in 1925 were influenced by advice he received from friends. Among others, he started freelancing for a marketing magazine, where he would write announcements and commercials. Feel free to judge his copywriting skills for yourself. From an ad for Curtis Woodwork. Curtis Woodwork embraces both the usual structural units and the cleverest contrivances of built-in or permanent furniture, such as bookcases, dressers, buffets, and cupboards. Every model is conceived and created with the purest art, ripest scholarship, and mellowest craftsmanship which energetic enterprise can command, and made to conform rigidly to the architecture of each particular type of home. The cost, considering the quality, is amazingly low, and a trademark on the individual pieces prevents any substitution by careless contractors. Lovecraft Studies, Volume 7, Number 1, by H.P. Lovecraft and S.T. Joshi. And I thought we came over here to, like, well, now it's open the room. I feel like there should be more here. Hey, why is that cupboard open? These days, the word scientist is a widely accepted term, but at the time Dagon was published, it was subject to a wide debate. After the author used it in the story, critics pointed out that man of science was a more appropriate term to employ. He admitted, in defense of Dagon, that if Dagon were to be reprinted, he would indeed use the phrase they suggested. Scientist was coined as an analog to artist, to be used when referring to those studying different branches of science. Yet in the 17th and early 20th century, scientific researchers in Great Britain and the United States were of the opinion that man of science, resembling the term man of letters, was the only proper choice. Among other things, it was gender specific, indicating that science was an endeavor to be pursued by only one sex. Because of fucking course it does. The term scientist became more accepted only after World War II, and man of science started fading into obscurity as an old-fashioned synonym. I guess thank God for that, I don't know. What's that? Oh. It doesn't really explain where we are. So I feel like I'm missing something. But maybe I'm not. And away we go.
It is at night, especially when the moon is gibbous and waning, that I see the thing. I tried morphine, but the drug has given only transient surcease and has drawn me into its clutches as a hopeless slave. So now I am to end it all, having written a full account for the information or the contemptuous amusement of my fellow men.
Alright, first we're going to take another look around. Lovecraft hated tobacco. Even though he used to smoke when he was 12, in order to look and feel like an adult, in his correspondence with friend Reinhard Kleiner, he claims that he quit as soon as he started wearing long pants. He also had a very strong opinion about alcohol, as evidenced by his letter to Zelia Brown, dated 13th February 1928. As for the matter of drinking, I have never tasted intoxicating liquor, and never intend to. Having a strong aesthetic disgust at anything which blunts or coarsens the delicate natural equipoise of the evolved human intellect and imagination. Drinking excited my personal repugnance, hence I don't drink. Let the herd do what they will. I am rather in favor of prohibition, the prohibition of any one antisocial force as well as of any other. Source: The Spirit of Revision, Lovecraft's Letters to Zelia Brown. Oh, Zelia Brown Reed Bishop. By H.P. Lovecraft, Sean Branney, and Andrew Lehman. Oh, and S.T. Joshi. Well, I guess that's as far as we can go.
Often, I ask myself if it could not all have been a pure phantasm. A mere freak of fever as I lay sun-stricken and raving in the open boat after my escape from the German man-of-war. This I ask myself, but ever does there come before me a hideously vivid vision in reply. I cannot think of the deep sea without shuddering at the nameless things that may at this very moment be crawling and floundering on its slimy bed, worshipping their ancient stone idols and carving their own detestable likenesses on submarine obelisks of water-soaked granite.
Oh my gosh. No?
I dream of a day when they may rise above the billows to drag down into their reeking talons the remnants of puny, war-exhausted mankind. Of a day when the land shall sink, and the dark ocean shall ascend amidst universal pandemonium.
Oh my gosh. No? None? I guess not.
The end is near. I hear a noise at the door, as of some immense slippery body lumbering against it.
Oh gosh. How did he know? Alright, I can't go over that far. Let's see.
It shall not find me. God!
Oh my gosh.
That hand! The window! The window!
What? No, I want to know if there's... Oh god. Oh, that's freakish. We're out. I guess there are no. Oh my gosh. Thank you for playing. We hope you enjoyed immersing yourself in our little pool of cosmic horror. Well, I enjoyed it. But I've always liked Lovecraft's work, and some of it is, you know, the Eldritch type horror. And there are, I believe, 3. Yeah, it's all dark. It's all dark. It's all horror of some type or another. There is a great deal of the psychological aspect. It makes you wonder, like, oh, I missed 3. Son of a bitch. I knew I was missing some. Oh, but you can unlock them. You can unlock Ultra Real in this category, but you won't get associated achievements. You will still have to find them during the game. Do you want to continue? Do we want to unlock them? Do we? Do we? Do we? Of course we do. Okay. Alright. Lovecraft would often use the latest scientific discoveries as inspiration for his works. He would even update his stories at the last moment in order to make sure they reflected the latest breakthroughs. Unfortunately, his method was not without its flaws. After Lovecraft's death, the Piltdown Man discovery mentioned in Dagon turned out to be Oh no. A paleoanthropological fraud. Wow. In 1912, Charles Dawson, an amateur archaeologist, announced that he had discovered the missing link between ape and man, the fossilized remains of a previously unknown early human. Years later, they turned out to be a forgery, but by that point, the fraud had already managed to negatively affect the early research on human evolution. In the year when the discovery took place, the majority of the scientific community believed Dawson indeed found the missing link. In 1953, Time magazine published evidence proving that Dawson was a con man. It turned out that the fossils of the previously unknown early human consisted of a human skull, the jaw of an orangutan, and chimpanzee teeth. What a bastard. Alright. August Derleth was an American writer and anthologist. He also befriended Lovecraft and published many of his works through his company, Arkham House. Although he greatly contributed to the popularization of the author's works after his death, he is surrounded by numerous controversies, because of course he is. One of his most questionable decisions involved introducing the good versus evil doctrine. Derleth was a devout Catholic to the Cthulhu mythos, which contrasted with Lovecraft's view of the world and his approach to cosmic horror. As a result, the author's works are often misunderstood and misrepresented in today's culture. It's almost worth noting that Lovecraft was never really interested in creating a mythology, and the term Cthulhu mythos was coined by Derleth after the author left the mortal plane. So he's a con man too. Derleth, not Lovecraft. At another house where people were stirring, he asked questions about the gods and whether they danced often upon Lyrian. But the farmer and his wife would only make the elder sign and tell him the way to Nur and Ulthar, the dream quest of unknown Kadeth, H.P. Lovecraft. Elder sign is a protective symbol that can be found in various works of pop culture, usually represented by a 5-pointed star with an eye flame symbol in its center. For example, in games inspired by H.P. Lovecraft's writings, it's supposed to ward away all kinds of cosmic horrors. However, this is a later version of the sign created by the author's friend, writer August Derleth. In our game, we've used the original symbol as designed by Lovecraft in the form of a 6-pointed branch, which he sometimes included in his letters to his friends. Interesting. So, go us. I mean, we only missed 3 out of 20. I think we did pretty good. There are 2 other pieces, 2 other chapters. Well, they're not really chapters, are they? Because they're different. They're completely different stories. So the little glass bottle. Oh, there's only 8. I wonder if it's really short. And the railway horror, which there's also only 8 for that one. So yes, we just did What the Moon Brings, which I will edit. I will edit this to reflect that. So later, not later today, but later in time, we will either do the little glass bottle or... Oh no, this is DLC, I feel stupid. Or we will do the railway horror. So, I thought it was good. It's a nice change from, the normal things that I play. So it was nice to not have to worry about things like quick reflexes and inventory space and making choices and all that kind of stuff. It was nice to just be able to follow along with the story. And it's just interesting. Like, to me, it's just interesting. I haven't read all of his works, but I did enjoy the ones that I did read. So yeah, there we go. So I am becoming kind of a cranky bitch because hangry is a thing, and it's hard to gauge because I don't have an appetite anymore. So I should really eat something. I should really eat something. Like, I don't feel hungry, but I just become kind of, the angry I should be because I'm hungry, but I'm not. So it's complicated. It's complicated. So anyway, thank you all for stopping by. Love you guys. Mikey, I will talk to you later. Hopefully. I can't believe the internet's held up this long. I'm like waiting to get kicked off of it like any second, but it hasn't happened. So maybe they really did fix it this time. I don't know. They've been out like the last 2 days working on it, so maybe it's really fixed this time. I don't know. Okay. I'm going. I'm going. Have a great day, guys. Bye.